Welcome back. We are focusing on the election today, and Florida voters will decide on 4 different constitutional amendments. Now, Amendment 1 is described as the solar amendment. One side has spent millions of dollars getting their message out. The other has limited funding, but has been surging in the polls with a message that Amendment 1 misleads consumers. Well, today we hear from both sides to help you make an informed decision. And joining us now to talk more about Amendment 1, the solar amendment, is Screven Watson. He is with Consumer for Smart Solar on the board. Screven, good to see you. Thanks for taking time today.
No problem. Glad to be here, Ryan. Thank you.
We live in the Sunshine State. There are a lot of people certainly that have solar on their home. What will a yes vote on Amendment 1 do for them that they don't already have?
Well, good question, Ron. I mean, basically, you do have a right, as you say, to own your own solar panels or lease them today. But it's an implied right. It's an implied right because it's not prohibited. So by passing Amendment 1, it would provide a safe haven, put it in the Constitution, that no matter what future energy policies come down the road that could change, individuals and businesses would always have the right to generate their own electricity for their own use, something you don't currently have in the Constitution. And, people put things in the Constitution where it's harder to get them out. It's a little bit of a safe haven. And that's, first and foremost, that's what Amendment 1 would do.
Screven, a lot of times amendments, there's so much focused on the big races, but the average person struggles to keep up with what the amendment entails. And there's not been a lot of polling, but I did notice in the Miami Herald ran the story that it was about 84%. Last month it dipped to 59%, which puts it right at that 60% number, which it needs to pass. What do you attribute that to? Is that information going out? Or when you see those numbers, what do you think on those numbers?
Well, in Florida, you have to, as you say, you have to have 60%, which is just, it's not an easy number. We saw it last year with the medical marijuana getting 58, 59%, but yet not passing. So, there's I believe a lot of information out there people are studying, but there's also a lot of misinformation, Ryan, and I think it's unfortunate because our opponents have thrown out a parade of horribles about what Amendment 1 does. And your viewers and listeners are intelligent voters. I think if people just separate themselves from the noise and read Amendment 1 very closely, they'll see that, a lot of the slippery slope argument and parade of horribles is just not accurate. It basically, as you said earlier, it gives you a right to have solar and produce energy, but it leaves government in the process. That's all Amendment 1 does, is leave government in the process to regulate and oversee solar energy, just like other traditional energy sources. And that's really what it does, and not a thing more.
Screven, certainly you've heard the critics, and I think the number one thing I hear, really 2 things. One, that it is backed by the utility companies. They're not fond of that. And then they question the language a little bit. Even one justice saying it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. How do you respond when you hear those kind of complaints or information that comes out there?
Well, 2 things. I mean, one, that quote was written in the dissenting opinion. A majority of the court found, the Supreme Court I'm talking about, found it not misleading and clear and concise. It was a 4-3 vote, but Chief Justice Kennedy said, look, this is pretty clear. It does something in the Constitution that's not there right now. On the utilities, look, I mean, it takes a lot of money to pass these things. We're fortunate to have their support. We disclose all that, but we have a lot of other support too. People can go to our website at smartsolarfl.org and see all the organizations that have endorsed us. And I think they've endorsed us because of what you and I were talking about, Ron, a second ago. Government has a role, we believe, in protecting consumers. And that also applies to utilities. Utilities are the most heavily regulated industry in the state of Florida. So when it comes to looking at other energy sources, shouldn't they have the same consumer protection regulation and oversight as traditional power? We believe so. I think the utilities believe so. But I think if you read the language, Ryan, and look at it even with a critical eye, you'll see that there's just a lot of misinformation that Amendment 1 does not do. It just simply leaves government in to protect consumers.
Screven, I appreciate you coming in and talking about it. We've heard a lot from viewers that, we just don't know enough about it. So we appreciate you coming in and kind of clearing up your side of it. And we'll see. Of course, Tuesday it needs 60% to pass in Florida. Screven Watson with Consumer for Smart Solar. Appreciate your time, Screven.
Thank you, Ryan. Glad to be here.
Now, the opposition to Amendment 1, as we said, has been badly outspent in this campaign. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan group, but they have taken a no position on Amendment 1. And Deidre McNabb is here to talk more about this. We appreciate you being here, and you're on the board here. Why is it that you have taken, the League has taken a no on this position?
Well, it's really simple. Viewers need to follow the money. The gentleman they just heard from, Screven Watson, has received more than $100,000 from the utilities to support this amendment. I'm here as a volunteer because I believe in solar. It is really exciting to see informed voters across the state. Every newspaper has said no on one. It's follow the money. The utilities are worried that the Sunshine State, people are going to begin to embrace solar. They're going to lose money. That's why they've put $26 million of our utility money, the money we pay in our energy bills, to try and get something passed that looks very good. It looks like it's pro-solar. There was a tape released with one of their lobbyists bragging to people at a utility convention that they are tricking the voters in Florida. So informed voters need to say no to this amendment. It has had a remarkable support from conservative, liberal groups, the Christian Coalition, the Sierra Club. Everybody has come together and looked at it, the newspapers, the media, and they've said no. This is bad for solar power. It sounds like it's good. It is not consumers for smart solar, it's utilities to stop solar.
I asked him about this, and it's kind of staggering. You talk about $26 million being spent, and those poll numbers have gone from the 80s to the 50s. And one theory, the Miami Herald's theory, was once people get this out on social media, which you've almost had to turn to for a lack of funding, they realize this is not something for me. Is that your take on why those numbers have gone that way? Absolutely,
it is. We've run a remarkable campaign. This is on track to be the most expensive citizen initiative ever, with the utilities trying to pull the wool over consumers and voters' eyes, and $26 million buys a lot of wool. So voters are smart. We believe they're going to turn it down. It's thrilling, frankly. This is an epic David and Goliath battle in this state, and what's especially thrilling to see such a divisive election year, people coming together from all political perspectives to agree that this is bad for consumers, it's bad for business, it's bad for Florida, so people should vote no on Amendment 1.
It's interesting, he said in that interview that you were able to listen to as well, the horribles that have been brought out. Are you surprised that those words come out, and what do you think he's talking about in your campaign that would be described as the horribles?
Well, I think they're using anything they can at this point because they don't have the facts. They're trying to frighten people. They've brought in Pat Boone to do robocalls. They've sent enough mailers and bought enough TV ads. We're breathing on gas fumes right now because we have so little money in our consumer civic-based volunteer campaign. But they're just doing anything they can at this point, including spreading untruths, such as there is no regulation of solar. There is very strong regulation of solar already. Every Floridian has the right to solar on their roof, whether their homeowner association wants it or not. So it's a very protected right. It doesn't belong in the Constitution, and the language that they've used would enable them to levy punitive fees and kill solar in our state like they've done in Nevada and Arizona. So this is something where voters and consumers need to beware. They need to say no on one. This is the utilities hiding behind a mask, calling themselves consumers, and pretty much anybody you see speaking on behalf of this amendment is being paid, like Screven Watson, with more than $100,000 to his PR firm.
Some would argue this shouldn't go to an amendment because it happens like this, where one side can spend a lot, one side doesn't have much to spend, and the consumer is left to try and get the information. Speaking of information, is there a website that you can direct people to, or what should they look for if they're looking for your view on No on One?
Yes, they can go to noon1.org, and they'll be able to read all the different radio, TV, newspapers that have come out against it, see a list of groups that is really historic in terms of the coalition that has come together to oppose it, and they can get more facts on solar. We're the Sunshine State.
Right.
We should be #1.
Deirdre, thanks for coming in. I know you have a lot going on, but I appreciate the insight as we try and educate viewers as well.
Thank you, Brian.
Much more still ahead. Political analyst Frank Torres is going to join us coming up. He's going to handicap not only the other races, but tell you why Amendment 2 involving medical marijuana has been such a quiet issue this time around. We'll be right back.